Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Cookout with Crum. Just going to give you a back out. This is just going to be kind of a fun thing. Those of you that don't know, I am running for State House of Representatives here in Kansas in District 98. And we got to thinking that I like to answer questions and stuff, and I do little things every Thursday evening at 6 o'clock on this Facebook Live right here on my campaign page, where I talk about different policies or things that are going on in the state, and decided to maybe just do something a little bit different tonight. So my dad had some surgery in March, and he hasn't been able to get out and cook out. And my mom decided that I mentioned that I've been cooking out quite a bit for Paige and I, and she asked if I could grill some stuff for them. So I said, yeah. And when she heard that, she heard, give me as much stuff as you possibly can to grill. So tonight, I actually, for them, I am going to be grilling turkey burgers, hamburgers, some pork chops, some hot dogs, and some brats. And then I also have some brats for my wife and I to eat, so that when I get done doing this, we can eat dinner. But while we're doing this, you can also you can comment on this page and ask questions if you have questions for me. So I'm going to get ready to go. I got my grill warmed up. This grill, by the way, was a wonderful Father's Day gift for my wife and my kids a few years back, and it's been really great and really handy. Paige and I have really used it a lot because it's easy and it's quick. So that's what we've been doing. I'm going to start off cooking their hamburgers and their turkey burgers. For those of you that have never made patties out of turkey, it's really, really hard. So, but I have done that. They asked me to make 6 of them, so I've got 6 of them in here. I added some dry onion soup mix to them when I pattied them up, so I mix that all together, and then I made patties out of them. So I'm going to get these on the grill.
Utensils?
Yeah, over there to flip them with. My wife is helping me out here.
Hi, everybody. Yeah, this is Paige, and I'm just having some issues here with him using his hands, so I'm going to go get some Clorox wipes.
They're right behind. They were right behind me. So like I said, I've got 6 of these. If you'll notice, also just handy little tips, maybe. Okay, first off, I am not a barbecue wizard. I don't want to try to make that sound like anything at all. I've just been cooking a lot outside. But if you get your hamburgers or your turkey burgers or whatever in little plastic like this, when you take them out, if you clean these out, then you can put them back in when you are getting ready to take them out to cook them, and you won't have to use another utensil that you have to clean for that. So I got those going now. I also have hamburgers for them. I'm going to get those going. Those I use the onion soup mix, but I use the beefy onion soup mix with hamburgers. So I actually made 7 of these for them. That's one thing that's nice about having the grill is this grill is pretty big. It does a good job of cooking evenly no matter where you're at on the grill. So I found out that dry onion soup mix are really a really easy, simple way to kind of marinate your hamburger, give flavor to your hamburgers without really having to put much time into it. So there's those. Now, as you can tell, I'm giving you some things that I do when I barbecue because I want you to know what's going on. I kind of look at it the same way when I'm in Topeka. I was in Topeka in 2017 and 2018. We got a lot of really good work done while I was there. There was a lot of talk about how well the representatives worked together. We had a lot of bipartisan support. We stopped a terrible tax plan by overriding a veto. Just because we work together and know how important that is to work together. And you have to be honest and transparent to do that. And that's one thing that I will definitely do when I'm in Topeka. Like I said, I've been giving updates once a week on here just to talk about so everybody knows where I am on policy and stuff like that. One other barbecue tip, just for those of you, anybody that's had a child that played or you played Little League football or high school football or whatever, and you got the mouthpieces and you heated them up and then pressed them on your mouth to make them fit. If you get an ice scraper, make sure it's not a real heavy duty one, but a nice plastic ice scraper. You get your grill, heat it up, take that ice scraper, put it right on the grill and move it down, up and down 3 or 4 times. You'll get nice little grooves in it like this. When I'm done grilling now, I've got a ready-made. It's a real easy way to clean my grill off, and that's just a little tip. I've been thinking about trying to patent that, make $1 million, but I haven't got around to it. So I just gave you all a tip.
Steve,
Yes.
you have a question from Shirley,
Yes.
and it says, "Have you ever had a veggie burger?"
Surely no. I have never had a veggie burger, and I can tell you that within the next, I don't know, 20 years, I'm not planning on having a veggie burger. I am a meat, beef guy, pork. Uh, I will eat turkey burgers, but I'm more of a beef guy. We are growing vegetables. We've got this on my computer, so we really can't show you. I guess I should give you guys a heads up on a couple of things. We're out here on our deck that we have behind our house, and this year with the quarantine and everything, I was here a lot more, and we actually planted some vegetables, which we've never done before. Uh, we've got a couple of, well, actually, we got 3 tomato plants. Um, we have a zucchini plant. We have a cucumber plant. A couple of strawberry plants. Um, and a couple of jalapeno pepper plants. So I'm not going to eat a veggie burger, but I will grow veggies. Um, and thanks. Anybody else have questions for me about what I'm cooking, how I'm doing it, or what I want to do when I get back to Topeka? Let me know. Um, Again, I mentioned the COVID and how much more time I spent at home. I know there's a lot of people that have had to spend time at home that weren't planning on it. Some of those people aren't being paid. I know they're having some trouble with the some of the unemployment stuff with people having to wait, not being able to get a hold of them, or their pays being held up. I can't tell you right now. I know that something happened right in the middle where they changed one of the forms. There was a federal requirement, and they changed one of the forms right in the middle of it. And answer 10, and I want to say 10, 11. I'll actually look at this later and put a message on it to make sure that's right. But you have to answer yes on both of those questions to be eligible to get your unemployment. So I'll double check on that and put that in the thing. But I know there's a lot of people that are having to stay home and times are hard. Please know you can reach out to me and I can try to see if I can get you any help. There's a number you can call to get utility help and mortgage help. Of course, 211 is still the go-to number where they can help you out too. Um, so please know with COVID, please make sure that first off you're all staying safe. Go ahead and say words.
Do you want me to wash these for you now?
That would be great because I can put them back in there. So that's kind of what COVID I got. Like for those of you that are just tuning in,
Excuse me.
we are. I'm cooking right now for my mom and dad. I'm grilling out for them, and they're gonna freeze these and eat them later. Some of them. Right now on the grill, I have turkey burgers and hamburgers. I season the turkey burgers with dry onion soup mix, and I mix the hamburger with beefy onion soup mix, dry soup mix. Come on about medium heat. I'm also going to be cooking some hamburgers and brats later, and also I've got about 6 pork chops here that have been marinating. Let's see, because Paige is in doing some stuff for me. I don't know if we're gonna. I won't know if you send me any questions when she gets back out here. If I've got questions, I'll answer those then. A couple of other things I want to touch on. Just I feel like in Topeka right now we have a lot of people up there that are up there to be Republicans and even be Democrats. Although I can tell you, unfortunately, because of leadership up there, a lot of the Republicans are almost scared to work with Democrats. It is so important that we get different leadership up there too. And moderate Republicans need Democrats to help them do that. So I've always said, before I started running, I was actually an independent. Um, Sort of started getting some stuff going on with some of the Republicans that were up there that had to do with education. That the Democratic Party came to me and asked me to run as a Democrat, which I did. Uh, but I have also lots of Republicans that support me. My wife is even a registered Republican. Um, and that's because I work with everybody. I want to listen because I know that whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, everybody's going to have different ideas. And the more heads you have working on something, as long as they're working in the same direction, you're going to come up with better ideas You're going to have more ways to compromise, and that's really, really important. That's one thing I really intend to do up there is to make sure that I am working with Democrats and with Republicans to make sure we can come up with things to make the state better policy.
Hi, me again.
Press and see.
Well, you want something to put over the top of it.
Okay, so again, I am not a cook master. You are not on cooking. You are on Cooking with Crum, but not on TV. Uh, Simple stuff. I will tell you here in a little bit, probably here in about 5 minutes, I'm going to get ready to get the pork chops, and I'll just see how I'm doing those. The pork chops get a lot more care than the turkey burgers and the hamburgers. I've had them marinating now for about 3.5 hours. Uh, and I'll talk about my marinade when I get to those.
You have another question.
Okay, go ahead.
This question is from Shirley. I don't know if it's the same Shirley.
Okay.
Have you heard anything about the start of school yet?
Shirley, the start of school, that's a good question. I am a school teacher here in Hayesville at the elementary school. My wife also happens to be the president of the school board. I can tell you that the superintendents have meetings on a daily basis with the Department of Ed here in Kansas. As of right now, the plan is to go, but they don't know what kind of safety things are going to be in place. There's a very large group of administrators, teachers, medical experts that are meeting on a regular basis. I actually heard the group is about 500 people. They are coming up with a plan, and that plan is supposed to be put out on July 10th is when the districts will be able to, although they have made quite clear that everything they're going to put out are going to be suggestions. It's actually up to each individual board to make up their decisions on how they want to do things. If they're going to go full out, everybody shows up, what kind of regulations they're going to have, if they're going to be able to have online available, how many kids are you going to allow in a class? So all of that will come out. The suggestions from the Kansas Department of Education will come out July 10th, and then it will be up to each local board to decide how they want to implement different things. For those of you that don't know, being in District 98 would mean that you represent the Hayesville School District. You also represent the Wichita School District, and you represent the Derby School District. District 98 does not go into the city limits of Derby, but it does cover their school district that covers the Oaklawn area. So they're involved with that. And so I try to, again, when you go back to transparency, when I was in Topeka before, I made sure and I set up times to go and talk to each one of those school boards at one of their meetings to give them a legislative update. And I would do that again when I get back up there. Which one of the members from from Wichita happened to mention that they'd been on the board for over 20 years and they had never had somebody come and give them a legislative update. So they were real happy about that. So my turkey burgers are getting close here. Again, if you've never made patties out of turkey burgers, not an easy thing to do. You can see these, not too bad. They are pretty juicy. That soup, actually putting that dry soup mix actually helps with that. Also makes them smell really good.
You have a follow-up to that question.
Okay.
Regarding the opening of schools. And this is
I'm going to let you do this part.
particular. This is particular to special education.
Okay.
Are there plans that those classrooms will be held any differently?
Okay, I cannot say this for sure, but when the Kansas Department of Ed gives their recommendations on July 10th, I would imagine in that will be suggestions for special ed classes. I can't guarantee that. I would imagine there will be. And with that, then you'll have to see. I can see because a lot of times, perhaps those kids are going to have more underlying conditions in some of the special ed classes. If it's not just a learning disability, if it's other disabilities, um, those kids, you're going to have a lot of kids in school that way, even that aren't in special ed, that may have underlying conditions, or their parents might. Um, that's why I think they're leaving it up to each individual districts, because that is going to possibly cause issues. So we're just going to kind of have to wait until July 10th for that. My initial reaction would be that yes, there'll be some different guidelines for some of those classes, but again, that'll be up to each individual board to check on that. Okay, the hamburgers still have a little bit. I have now 6 pork chops. My wife's making a face. I don't know if you can see me on camera or not. They've been marinating in. I got some barbecue sauce in there. My parents like food a little bit sweet sometimes. My wife does not, so I actually added a little bit of soy sauce into this, just a little bit, and then some other seasonings. And then I marinate them. I set them in this. They're not completely soaking. They're about halfway. And what I do is I'll do about an hour and a half, and then I flip them over and do the other half for an hour and a half and sprinkle stuff on top. So that's how I'm doing my pork chops. My hamburgers are still going. Done with the turkey burgers, pulled those off. So now I'm going to put our pork chops on here. The pork chops, again, I'm not an expert. I've just been cooking a lot. What I've found has worked better for pork chops on my grill when I cook is to turn them over several times. Uh, try not to do, 8 minutes on one side and 8 minutes on the other side or whatever. I'll do like 4 minutes and then flip them, and 4 minutes and flip them, and then 4 minutes and flip them, just kind of doing like that. And they seem to be cooking pretty well, so that's what I kind of stick with. That's my plan. If they look like they're cooking a little slow to me sometimes, I will go ahead and close the lid for a little bit and kind of do that for a couple minutes to really increase it. I think we have another question.
We do have another question. This person says, I came in late. Can you use everything you're hoping to grill tonight?
I am grilling pork. I just finished turkey burgers, which, as I mentioned to everybody, turkey burgers are really hard to make into patties, but I did it. And I mixed those with some dry onion soup mix. I have some hamburgers on the grill right now that I mixed with beefy dry onion soup mix. And I also have 6 pork chops that I just started that I marinated a little bit tonight. And then after I get done with those, I've also got some brats and some hot dogs that I'm doing. So I'm grilling a little bit of everything.
Oh, we also have a comment.
Yes.
By Brown. Sugar is great on barbecue meat while cooking for sweetness.
It is. Like I said, my wife is not a big fan. Oh, I did forget one other thing I do put in these is, I just kind of like switch it. I put in just a little bit of juice out of jalapeno. If you buy jalapenos at the store and it comes in the juice, if you add just a little bit of that, it can give your pork chops just a little bit of spice. Um, so actually, I put just a little bit of that in there for my parents who aren't big fans of it. When it's just Paige and I don't do the soy sauce because Paige doesn't like the sweet. But I actually put in a little bit more of the jalapeno liquid with that. But yes, brown sugar. There's a lot of different. Actually, a lot of the stuff that I marinate with already has brown sugar cinnamon in it, or brown sugar. Excuse me, not cinnamon. So I've never tried adding sugar. My wife would hate it, but maybe sometime I'm cooking out, I could cook me something and give it a shot.
It's because I like it spicy.
Yes.
Okay. Why don't you tell us about one of these?
Okay, I'll tell you what. One thing, my number one thing, when I went to the legislature the first time in 17 and 18, I had 3 goals. That first goal was to just get rid of Brownback's tax experiment that was completely bankrupting the state. Uh, got that done. Second thing I wanted to do was make sure that we got our education funding to a point to where we weren't in litigation anymore, and our schools were being funded at a constitutional level. Got that done. Third thing I wanted to do was get Medicaid expanded. And I'll go over some reasons why in just a second. I can honestly say that I carried an amendment onto the floor to add Medicaid expansion at one point. It did not pass at that time, but I can tell you the first year we did run it through, we actually got it past the House. So we did get it past the House. We actually got it past the Senate, and Governor Brownback vetoed it, and we came up 3 votes short of overriding his veto. And unfortunately, Medicaid still isn't expanded. Now, before COVID started, uh, there was about 150,000 Kansans that fell into what is a kind of like a gap from where you would be eligible. We have dogs next door, and we have a dog here. We also have a cat here that may jump up on the camera every once in a while, just an FYI. Um, Basically, this gap, if you make too much money, you're not eligible for. There's a there's a gap between the Kansas Can Care Plan and the federal the qualify for Medicaid. And the bottom of the gap for federal's here, and the top of the gap for Kansas is here, and there's this gap in the middle. And we got about 150,000 people that fell into that gap. So if they didn't feel well, did they go to the doctor? No, because they don't have insurance. They have no way to pay for it. When they do ended up going to the doctor or to the emergency room, things had gotten so bad enough in many cases that the bills were just exceptional. And sometimes those people just waited too long. And I have visited and heard when I was in Topeka plenty of stories of people that basically just waited too long. They had cancer, they had some other disease like that, and they literally died because they did not have health care. So when anybody talks about Medicaid expansion, to me, Medicaid expansion has never, ever been a political issue. It is a moral issue. As the dogs are crying, you can tell they feel the same way. Um, it is so important, especially now with COVID. We had how many people have lost their jobs that had insurance through their job, and now all of a sudden they don't have insurance, and they find out they fall in this gap. So I don't know what the number is yet. Actually, I don't think anybody in the state knows what the number is, but I can guarantee you it's more than 150,000 people now. And we have got to get Medicaid expanded. We have got to let Kansans know that they can, if they're not feeling well, they can go to the doctor and get preventive care that they need. We need to have uh, young mothers know that they can go to the doctor and get their prenatal stuff. I mean, all of this is so vitally important. Um, and that's why that is going to be my number one priority when I get back. Is we got to get Medicaid expanded. Um, it's been way too long. We have the state has seen over $1 billion. Actually, I think it's closer to over $2 billion now in federal tax dollars that we have paid into that have not come to Kansas because we have not expanded Medicaid. There's only about 13 states left that have not expanded Medicaid. Um, Actually, I want to take that back. About 20, I think. Um, but more and more doing it every day, and we're way behind. Well, we got to get out there and get that done.
It's not working. Okay, you have
Okay.
a comment, I believe, is from Glenn and Rolla Crum
Oh, hey, I
that
know them.
says they are verifying that when you cook the turkey burgers and the pork chops, that they are very yummy.
Oh. So this is the second time I've done it. The first time I did it, my mom said, "Hey, we're going to do this so that your dad and I can just have them in the freezer and eat them." And she was talking about starting that next week. So she had me do it about a week ago. And then she started telling me about everything that they had already eaten. And I said, "Well, you're not going to have much left to eat." And she goes, "Oh, we're going to have you do it again." So yes, I am cooking for them right now. Actually, I'm putting their you seen I flipped the pork chops over again for the second time now. I talked earlier about how I kind of try to mix those up. I try to flip them several times to kind of make the cook even. And so right now I'm also throwing on their brats, and they also wanted some beef hamburgers.
Okay, I have a comment.
You do.
Yeah, this is from Paige.
Okay.
And those who are watching and joining us, you may notice that the screen keeps going up and down. And I apologize for that. We had a request that we couldn't see Steve's face, so I moved it up. And then we had a request that we couldn't see the grill, so I moved it down. And I can't seem to get both in the picture. So just FYI, we're not going with the face because that's not better. You have to be further away. Don't move anymore. And so we'll go with this. If you need to see the meter, I'll ask him to show it to you again. Thank you. Now, there is another question as well. This one asks, are you and Cindy Miles running against each other, or are they different districts?
Different positions, actually. I believe Cindy Miles is running for Sedgwick County Commission. I can't swear to that, but I believe if she's not running for Sedgwick County Commission, she's running for the State House in District 93, which is on the south side of Hayesville. The north side of Hayesville, which actually that's going to be a good thing for me to talk about in just a second, is in District 98. I do have a primary opponent. Her name is Carol Brewer. It is not Cindy Miles. I would see if I can talk my wife into going and rinsing some stuff out. There we go. What I'm going to bring up about that, one other reason this election is really important. This point's going to be more toward people in Hayesville. Every 10 years when we do the census, the legislature is who gets to set boundaries up for districts. I don't know if some of you have ever heard of gerrymandering before, but Kansas is sort of known for that. And that happens sometimes if you have one party that is so dominant over another party in numbers in your state legislature because they want to figure out how they can make sure they get reelected. Well, this is a census year, so this legislature that's going to be elected in 2020 will set boundaries for districts. The reason I say this might impact Hayesville people more than some of the others is that right now Hayesville's cut right. First off, there's some basic rules in when you're setting up your districts that they like to follow. And one is that if you have a large group of people that live in one area, you want to make sure that that group, when possible, stays in the same voting block. In other words, they did not follow this when they changed. They changed the district 10 years ago. Hayesville did not used to be split in half. Hayesville all used to be in District 93. Well, they split Hayesville in half now, so that the city of Hayesville, even though it's a large voting block, over 11,000 people, half of the town's represented by one person and the other half's represented by somebody else. So that would be one of my goals when I get up there is that when we start talking about districts, that I would try to make sure that we get Hayesville all in one voting district again, so that the large voting block, the large citizenry that are all together in one town are covered by the same representative. So that was actually a good question to help me bring that up, because that's something that, like I said, it only happens every 10 years, so a lot of people don't even realize that. And sometimes I don't even remember that is one thing that we're going to have to look at. And talk about some other stuff right now. Pork chops are probably going to come off here in about 2 or 3 minutes. I'm going to flip them one more time, and then they'll be ready to go. I do want to talk a little bit about, as I'm cooking here, food sales tax. We have the next to the highest food sales tax in the entire country, and that is something that needs to change. Unfortunately, with COVID, we're going to have to talk about different cuts and things like that. They're going to have to be made. So it'll be hard just to say, okay, we're just going to drop the food sales tax. So what I'd like to start working on is, to begin with, is all fresh fruit and vegetables, fresh food that you buy at like farm and art markets that are locally grown, they should be tax free. That's something I'm going to go up and fight for and try to get done. And then as far as the food sales tax in general goes, what I'd really like to see is to go ahead. Start to phase it out. In other words, we're not, like I said, we're not going to be able to go from where it is now and drop it to zero. The state just can't. The budget can't take that hit. So I'd like to see over a 4 or 5 year period, we drop it certain percentages each year until we can finally, after about year 5, we're down to zero. I think that would help the people that really need help, because I mean, let's face it, some people that are living paycheck to paycheck sometimes are trying to decide if they're going to pay their rent or if they're going to put food on the table. And any kind of way you can let them save money on food, the better off we're going to be, and everybody in the state's going to be.
2 things.
Okay.
We have a statement that they can't hear me when I speak. So
You or me?
me.
Okay.
I'm going to give you the question, and you please repeat it,
Sure.
and then answer it.
Okay.
This question is, what is your favorite veggie?
Well, your basics, because I'm a basic guy. A lot of people are going to say they don't really count, but I love corn. I love corn on the cob. I love potatoes. I will eat peas. I like green beans. I prefer cut green beans, and they're even better if they're in the green bean casserole that my wife makes that I am looking forward to having tomorrow. As far as vegetables, I'll eat onions. I'll eat jalapenos. I am not a spinach or broccoli guy, although I will eat spinach leaves on a salad or on a sandwich. Um, as you can probably tell, I don't always eat a lot of what's exceptionally good for me. Some of the other stuff, I want to talk about COVID and actually economic recovery. One of the things one of my other main things to do when I get up there, as we just talked earlier about how there's probably going to have to be some cuts made because the economy of the state's taken such a hit with COVID, is I want to make sure that we protect our social services, that they don't see cuts like DCF, our foster care system, the assistance that we give to young families or families that are struggling. We have to make sure those don't see cuts. I also think it's very important that we don't cut education because, like I said, we just got that funding constitutional. So we don't want to start cutting that and let the courts end up having to step back in. So that's all really important. But one other thing I think that we need to look at is expanding uh, the economy here. And we depend so much on aircraft. We have got to find ways to diversify the factory work in this town. And we've got to draw businesses here. We also have it with WSU being here. We've got a lot of tech stuff. We can definitely start getting in the tech stuff. We've got to encourage people through loans or whatever to try to get in here and develop some diversity in our workplace, so that the companies know we have people here that'll work. But when you're relying so much on just one thing, when you have something that if aircraft struggling, then our economy struggles, and we've got to find ways to diversify that to fix those problems.
We have a follow-up question
Okay.
to your districting
Yes.
discussing.
Yes.
This is regarding gerrymandering in Hayesville.
Yes.
And they ask, why was it split?
Well, I would love to tell you, but I was not in the legislature in 2010 when it happened. I know that. Oh, the question was, why did Hayesville end up getting split in the last districting? My answer is that I don't really know. I wasn't in 2010. Geraldine Flaherty was the representative from District 93 at that time when it got split. And so actually, she was the one that came and asked me to run as a Democrat the first time in 2012. So, which I did not do at that year. But I got one more that needs washed. All that I know is that the north half of Hayesville and the south half of Hayesville tends to break up a little bit differently as far as Republican and Democrat. The northern part tends to be a little bit more heavy Republican. The south part tends to be a little bit more Democrat. And when it was broke up, there was some gerrymandering that happened there, and they wanted to make sure they got a bigger block of Republicans in the northern half of that area. Because again, the Republicans had control of the House, and it was the leadership, and so that's what they tried to go for, and that's what ended up happening. Actually, the first time it came through, it was so bad that the courts actually set the districts this last time, and that was just the way it broke up.
Excuse me.
Just gonna go do one more thing for me. For those of you that came in late, I am cooking. I'm cooking some stuff up for my parents. I actually just put Paige and mine's dinner on too. I've already finished the turkey burgers that I cooked up. I put the hamburgers up that I cooked up, and pork chops. So my parents, that stuff's done for them. And right now I have some hot dogs on for them and some brats for them. And then I also have some brats from us. For those of you that are coming on late too, we're trying something different here. I'm just kind of cooking, talking about what's going on, taking questions if you want to ask me questions. My dad had surgery in March, hasn't really had a chance to grill. My parents like stuff grilled out. So when I mentioned to mom that I've been grilling out a lot more, she decided she'd give me some stuff and grill for them. So that's what I've been doing. And then actually I'm going to take all this stuff to them, and they're going to end up freezing them all and putting them in their freezer. and then they'll eat those over the next couple of weeks. This is the second time I've done it for them, so this time though they added brats and hot dogs to it. Last time we didn't have that, so. And then I'm also just cooking some brats for Paige and I. I did marinate the pork chops and some. I talked about barbecue sauce, some other pre-made stuff. Put soy sauce in them because my parents like it a little sweet. Added just a touch of jalapeno juice, give it just a little bit of flavor. And then I marinated those for about a half hour along with some dry sprinkled seasonings. And then the turkey burgers, I put dried onion soup mix, and the hamburgers, I put beefy onion soup mix, dry soup mix on. So that's kind of what I'm doing with that. I did want to mention a couple of things. I don't know if you can see on the TV or on the computer level. Starting in the middle of July, I'm going to be putting these out again. So if you'd be interested in having a sign in your yard, I would very much appreciate that. Probably going to focus on people who live in District 98, of course. But you can message me or send us an address on that. I have a website, crumforkansas.com. You can get in there to sign up for different things to get notifications. Or again, you can message me on here if you would like one and give me your address, and we'll make sure you get a sign when I start doing that, which will be sometimes after July. Over there on the left of my page, you'll also notice there's a contribute tab. If you wouldn't mind and thought you could do that, I would greatly appreciate that. I think we have a question.
Actually, it was about that. They said that they've been watching your page and didn't really understand what was that $19,000 and $57,000 thing the other day. What was that about?
Okay, I did do kind of a one-day fundraiser thing. Fun, I say. Last time I ran in 2018, get a drink here. It's kind of warm out here. Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs. In 2018, when I ran for re-election, the gentleman who is now Ron Howard, his campaign made about $3,500, and my campaign made a lot more than that.
Yeah, about 26.
His campaign didn't have to spend any money at all on mailings because he had Kansas Policy Institute (KPI) and also the Kansas Chamber that put out 19 flyers specifically against me. Now, KPI is even considered a nonprofit, so they can't actually campaign for somebody. So literally every piece of campaign they sent out was just a negative thing on me. Some of them were absolutely ridiculous. I've had mailers that came out that said that I supported terrorists, that I didn't want people to be safe. Just ridiculous stuff. But those 19 mailers, if I would have done those 19 mailers, it would have cost me around $57,000 to do. So what we did the other day was we asked people to help me try to make sure that I had money to be able to fight these false mailers that come out, to donate $19 if they liked the fact, or if they wanted to do that because of the 19 mailers, or $57 if they wanted to have it do with the $57,000 worth of postage that got sent out on me. And I expect nothing but the same thing this year. The Kansas Chamber really doesn't like me because I tend to really support the workers, making sure that workers are being fairly. Are we still on there? Because I got a sign up here that says, sorry, we're having trouble playing this video.
Oh, well.
I hope I'm still on here, people. I want to make sure workers are being fairly compensated for what they're doing, and I also want to make sure that they're safe in their workplace. The Kansas Chamber sometimes thinks that just making money in a business is more important than those things. So we don't necessarily see eye to eye with that. I can tell you that the representative in District 98 right now does pretty much whatever the Kansas Chamber tells him to do, or whatever the Republican leadership up there tells him to do. I want to get up there so that I can actually represent the people of District 98.
We have another question.
Okay.
And yes, I believe you are still running.
Okay.
This question is, what about real estate tax in Haynesville being so high?
Real estate tax in Hayesville being high. This is property tax is one thing that's The question is about the real estate tax being so high in Hayesville. Um, I can honestly tell you right off the top of my head, I can't tell you what the real estate tax is in Hayesville compared to what it is in Wichita or Derby or Clearwater surrounding areas. I do know that there's been lots of talk about how property tax is taken care of in the state. I don't know if that is the exact same thing off the top of my head, um, but I do know that with the income tax in the brownback tax experiment, we lost the income tax from a lot of Kansans. That has just started coming back a couple of years ago. The budget was starting to make itself healthy again, or maybe we could start looking how to cut different taxes. That would help everybody, not just the top 1 or 2% in the state, which is still a really popular thing for some groups to try to do. Um, so hopefully we can get the COVID thing over and we can start looking at reducing some of those taxes like that. As far like I said, I can't tell you exactly what the state that kind of tax would be here compared to like Wichita and Derby and surrounding areas. So I can't really give a great answer to that, but I can definitely look and try to find out.
We have another question.
Yes.
This is an education question. What does the next school year look like? And are there any ideas floating around to help keep class sizes low given no vaccine is found?
Okay, we've already covered this once, but that's okay. They're asking about the school plans for next year. Again, the Kansas Department of Education is meeting daily, actually, during the week with the superintendents from around the state to get ideas and to kind of let them know how things are going. As of right now, the plan is for the state uh, Board of Education to make a recommendation to districts on July 10th is when those recommendations will come out. Um, but those are going to be just that, recommendations. So it's going to be up to each individual district on how that's going to work. I know they have a very large group of people that are working on that, including administrators, teachers, and also medical professionals that can kind of give guidance on really what the do's and don'ts are going to be. So hopefully we'll know more about that on July 10th, and then, like I said, it will actually come down to each individual district. Good question, though.
Mm-hmm. And there is another question. What district am I in? 63rd and Broadway. What is District 98?
Okay, you are in District 98. District 98 is basically Grand 71st Street, um, straight down from Meridian all the way to Hydraulic, and then you go north. But now from Meridian, you only go north to 47th Street, and then you cut down 47th Street, and you go all the way to Hydraulic. And this is going to sound weird because then on the northeast side, I kind of have like a chimney. So you run up Hydraulic all the way to Pawnee, and then over a little bit, even on the other side of K15. So the northeast portion of the district is really skinny, but it's really long. Uh, and so it's the north half of Hayesville, that little section. If you really want to take it, it's the northeast half of Hayesville and some of southeast Wichita. And it also has some Sedgwick County area in there. Like I said, Oaklawn's kind of like toward the northeast part of my district as well. So you live in District 98. And hey, if you're looking for a sign or somebody to vote for, I know a guy. Okay, I've got my parents' stuff all cooked up, and all I have left now are Paige and mine's dinner, which is brats tonight. Um, I have to cook them really well because my wife likes her brats really well done. You want to talk a little bit about a little thing about Black Lives Matter and excessive force and stuff that we've been hearing so much about lately since the George Floyd murder. Um, I will tell you that my view on that right now is that I don't know enough about how our police are trained to say exactly what I want to do. If the information I've gotten from the people I have talked to is correct, in our police school, when they go to the academy, there is a class on how to de-escalate things. But if what I understand is correct, it is not a required class. and it's up to each individual department whether or not their police get those. And many departments will only train a few of their officers in that, not all of them. If I find out for sure that that is the way it works, my goal is to make sure that every police officer in this state has to take that de-escalation class. That'll basically be a required course to be a police officer. I also want to make sure that we get involved. I know they're working at the federal level. We need to make sure that if somebody has a lot of excessive force problems, has had lots of complaints on them and stuff like that, that they can't just leave one department and go to another department. We've got to get some kind of a database so that people will know who they're hiring if it's somebody that's been causing problems like that or has had issues in the past. Um, they don't need to be a police officer. And so I would really like us to see us do that. And I also think that we need to make sure that our police officers feel confident and safe in calling each other out. So I know they're talking about, well, you can't tell on them. That's right. And that's you work with that person. You shouldn't tell on them if they're doing something wrong. If somebody's using excessive force, doing things that they're not supposed to do on the force, the the good cops should be calling out the bad cops. Um, it's just it's going to work. When that happened with Mr. Floyd, I was relieved when I saw so many of the people that I know that are involved in law enforcement that basically shared that meme, that exact meme. Nobody hates a bad cop more than a good cop. Well, so I didn't see all police officers share that, and I really wished I would have. And I hope that those police officers that did share that mean that. And then if somebody's doing something they shouldn't do, or they're using excessive force, or they're pulling over people just because of the way they look, I hope they're saying something and they're calling an officer out so that it won't continue to happen.
Compare it.
I don't remember what I said.
De-escalation.
Oh, yeah. As far as the de-escalation class, guys, that is so important. As a school teacher, if we have a student or two that's causing problems, we don't end up bringing tons more teachers and just kind of pressuring them into escalating the situation into stressing the child out. Teachers, we learn how to try to de-escalate the situation. We will try to take pressure off of the child. We will ask calming questions, try to distract off of whatever's causing the problem, while making sure the other kids in the class are safe. Um, but we do not try to make it so that the student feels like they have no other way out other than escalating the event. And that's what the way our police officers need to learn. Our police officers get asked to do so much. Um, so much more than just police work. We have so many people who have mental issues now. They get called out on things that there is no way that they've had the proper training to actually be able to help. So they go and do the best they can. We've got to make sure that they're trained on how to de-escalate. We also need to try to make sure that they have, if they're not trained in a situation, that they have somebody with them that can help in maybe that mental problem or issue that's going on with a person that they're having to deal with. So it's kind of my feeling on that. Um, and it's something that I'm going to work with locally here in Hayesville, being on city council as well. Anybody have any more questions? The routes are almost done, so we're probably going to be wrapping it up here. I've probably got time for one or two more questions. Again, I am Steve Crum, running for State House District 98. Primaries coming up on August the 4th. So if you're a Republican in District 98, you do not have a primary. If you're a Republican in District 93, you do. If you're a Democrat in District 98, that would be me. You do have a primary. I would greatly appreciate your vote. And again, Ron Howard is the current representative here. He beat me in 2018 by a little over 100 votes with, like I said, about $60,000 worth of backing from a couple of different special interest groups, and I expect to see him do that again. So a couple other things while we're finishing up. Again, I have a website, crumforkansas.com. Feel free to go on there and find out some stuff that I have on that site. Also, you can contribute on that site. You can sign up for email updates. You can sign up to volunteer for different things, and email me questions on there. I have this Facebook page that you guys are watching right now. I'm also on Twitter, and my Twitter handle is at Steve Crum1, and that's the number one, not spelled out. I'm also on Instagram. I just started that. That's the same thing as my Twitter, so at Steve Crum1 on Instagram. I'm going to get ready to pull these off. We got another question here. We'll probably make this one the last question as I'm wrapping it up. I hope everybody has a great evening and a great Father's Day tomorrow. Let's see what our question is.
Why do you think you deserve to represent District 98? Repeat.
Why do I think I deserve to represent District 98? Deserves kind of a strong word. Um, I want to represent 98 because I think I am District 98. I've lived here 52 of my 54 years. Um, Paige and I have raised our kids here. I've been involved in local government. My wife's been involved in school board. Um, Civil service is just something that I think is important. If you see something that you think you can help improve for not only yourself, but especially for the people around you, the most vulnerable people around you, it's really important that you take that risk and you step up and do that. So do I think I deserve it? Deserve, again, that's up to the voter. Um, I think I do. I think I would do a great job. I think when I was there, I did a good job. Um, I know that I worked hard. I know that I studied. When we had an issue come up, I would try to make sure that I understood the issue. I understood how it would affect people in District 98 and people in other areas of the state, and went with what I thought was best for those people and the people in District 98. So whether or not I deserve it or not, that's up to the voters. I feel like I would do a good job. I feel like I did a good job. Uh, I care for this area. I care for the people that live here. I care for my neighbors, and I would love to be able to represent them.
And we also have one more last question.
One more last question.
So if I'm Republican, I can't vote for you?
So, as somebody said, if I'm a Republican, I can't vote for you. If you're a Republican, you cannot vote for me in the primary. So, August 4th. In November, you can vote for the Republican or the Democrat. So, no, come in August, you would not even see me on your ballot if you're a registered Republican. In November, you would see me on your ballot, and that's when I need those the moderate Republicans, the Republicans that know me, know what kind of a person I am, uh, people that I've grown up with, um, people who trust me, Republicans and Democrats. That's what I need you to vote for me when you're a Republican is in November. And I think we're going to call it. I'm getting ready to pull our brats off. We're going to have dinner. I hope everybody had a great time. Be looking. I'll probably do this again, maybe in a couple of weeks. Also working on a couple other fun fundraisers. Uh, we'll let you know about that. If you are not a member or have not liked my campaign Facebook page, please click on like right now or save it so that you can get information on here. I do a lot of my Facebook Live stuff on here. You will see me Thursday evenings at 6 o'clock. I always come on and do about a 5-minute thing, either covering policy or covering different things that may be going on in the area. And also, there's that contribute button again on the side. Sorry, I hate asking people for money. But again, I'm going to be running against somebody that's going to have two groups with very deep pockets running against me. And so I'm going to need help with that. When you click that contribute button, you can give a one-time donation. There's also a choice to do a monthly donation. So maybe if you feel like, well, I can give you like $5 or $10, that doesn't seem like much. First off, every little bit helps. Second off, if you think you could do that every month, you could make that a monthly donation and it would add up and really help me out. That's all I got tonight. Hope everybody has a great day tomorrow. Dads, have a great Father's Day. Um, just hope everybody has a great weekend. The weather's been good. Had some nice rain the other day that we kind of needed. Maybe some storms coming in Sunday, so we want to keep Sunday evening, keep an eye on that. Other than that, everybody have a great evening. Talk to you later.